So today we're reading from the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, and that is the third canto, chapter 1, text number 1 and 2. For some reason that didn't come on there. So today's topic will be Moha. This refers to the ownership of enjoyable objects. Discussed in the purport. Okay, so let's dive right in. Śrī Maitreya said, O learned Vidura, so far I have explained to you the glories of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and its feature of kāla. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahmā, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. Before the factual creation of the living entities in different varieties of species, the conditions under which a living being in the mature world has to live were created by Brahmā. Unless a living entity forgets his real identity, it is impossible for him to live in the material conditions of life. Therefore, the first condition of mature existence is forgetfulness of one's real identity. And by forgetting one's real identity, one is sure to be afraid of death. Although a pure living soul is deathless and birthless, this false identification with material nature is the cause of false ownership of things which are offered by the arrangement of superior control. All material resources are offered to the living entity for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties of self-realization in conditioned life. To be equal with the Supreme Being, when one can understand that the conditioned souls are under the influence of Brahma's magic wand. Patanjali also accepts that there are 5 kinds of nescience, as mentioned herein. So that's the end of the purport. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshus Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Śrī Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Dadanti Swabhadanti Kam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Guru Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the verses again. Śrī Maitreya said, O learned Vidura, so far I have explained to you the glories of the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his feature of kāla. Now you can hear from me about the creation of Brahmā, the reservoir of all Vedic knowledge. So he's giving full knowledge to Vidura about Krishna's creation and his subsequent creations. Now we're going to discuss those by Lord Brahmā. And we just finished the amazing feature of Krishna as time, the kāla, the time factor, which destroys everything in the material world. So this is very interesting, how all the ingredients are given to Lord Brahmā, and now he's going to use his intelligence, which is described, he has intelligence like the Supreme Lord, and he's going to create all of our bodies and all of our places to live, and all this material energy, these material places, the universe. So in the next verse, Brahma first created the nescient engagements like self-deception, the sense of death, anger after frustration, the sense of false ownership, and the illusory bodily conception or forgetfulness of one's real identity. So these are the 5 kinds of ignorance that first have been created by Lord Brahmā to cover us over. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to live here in this material world. It's, you know, if we knew who we were in our spiritual position, we would be so disgusted with the situation we're in that we won't be able to live here. So this forgetfulness works like that. And also the forgetfulness that of our previous births. If we actually remembered the pain and suffering and anguish from our previous births, we would not even be able to live here either. So we're even forgetfulness of the suffering here in the material world. So these are the, so while we're here, we think that we can own things and take advantage of things and identify with things that we're not. So this is very amazing. So this is Prabhupada describes that in the purport very nice, that we have to forget our real identity. And so because we identify with the body, we become fearful of death. And then this is really stuck to me, this word material resources, which Prabhupada talks here. The reason for them and the purpose for them is for peaceful living and to discharge the duties of self-realization and conditioned life. But due to false identification, we have a sense of false ownership, and we think that we are, you know, we have control of everything I survey. You know, it's like mine, I and mine. So this goes all the way down from the demigods down to human beings, even the animals. We had a pet when we were young, a German Shepherd. His name was Tiger. And he used to think that he owned the whole block that we lived on. You know, if any other dog or even sometimes people, he would immediately detect it and run and bark, chase them off the block. So this is the false sense of ownership. So here we have all the material resources given to us by nature. This is actually created by Krishna, and Lord Brahmā actually puts it all together and manifests it for us. He's an empowered engineer, demigod, to provide us with all the necessities to live peacefully and to use things to discharge devotional service, not to like think, oh, this is mine. You know, it's all my stuff. Because if we actually think it is ours, it's described that we're actually a thief. We're actually thinking that this is mine, but it's actually Krishna's. So this is the false sense of proprietorship. And then we think that we can use these things to make a better world. We can have, you know, we can solve the problems of the material world. So this is also Maya, Maya Sukhaya. The solutions to the problem, they're actually greater than the problem themselves. And this is what they're doing, exploiting material nature. And they end up creating greater problems than the original problems, trying to enjoy unlimitedly in a greedy sense, not realizing that these things, we're meant to live simply. You know, we're not meant to live like animals. And I was listening to a lecture by Mukunda Maharaj, and he was talking about how, I guess it was kind of an old lecture, and he was saying like even 10 years ago from that time, they had a meeting of the scientists in Moscow with Carl Sagan, all these big people. And they were saying that we actually can see a lot of terrible things happening in the future. And they had a discussion on what to do about it. So even though these scientists, they promote that there's no God, that things just happen by chance. But yet, their solution to the problem was to say that we should have all these religious groups influence their parishioners to live a God-centered life, live an austere life, live a simple life. So it's very, very ironic how they're in this great dilemma. And, you know, they see that because of their demoniac mentality, they're actually, as described in the Bhagavad Gita, performing horrible acts to destroy the world. And this is what they're doing. They're just thieves, and they're utilizing these things that don't even belong to them. This is the exploitation of material resources. And Prabhupada mentions how the sufferings of human society are due to this polluted aim of life. Namely what? Trying to lord it over material resources. And the more that human society engages in the exploitation of this undeveloped material resources for sense gratification, more and more they become entrapped in illusory material energy of the Lord. So this is all the necessities, as we saw, are supplied by the Supreme Lord. We have food grains, milk, fruit, wood, stone, sugar, so many different things. It's sufficient in quantity to feed the entire human race and actually everyone in every planet within the universe. Everything is complete. And it just takes a little energy required by the human being to get all his necessities of life. There's actually no need for machines, you know, huge. This is what these machines cause. I mean, they have so many factories, so many different things, making artificial comforts. But as mentioned and encouraged by the scientists, even the demons, plain living and high thinking. That's what we should be doing. So the highest perfection of thinking is suggested by Sukadeva Goswami, that we should hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's what we're doing now. This is the age of Kali. We've lost our vision, and the Srimad Bhagavatam will give us a torchlight to see the real path. And, you know, just simply hearing this polluted aim of life, it can subside in all parts of the world, and everybody can live peacefully a life of knowledge and bliss. So we see Prabhupada's hinting that the purpose of human resources, and all throughout the Bhagavatam has given us the proper utilization of them and how we can actually live peacefully in full knowledge. And that's by performing Bhakti Yoga. So not only is the performer purified, but everything, he gets completely pure. And if one doesn't, if the performer is not purified from his material contamination, Prabhupada mentions that he said they must be a pseudo-devotee. For such an impostor, there's no remedy for being freed from this material entanglement. So we have to see this and discover the faultiness of desiring to lord it over material nature. Because actually, the living entity is not the enjoyer. And his attempt to do that is just frustrated. And all that frustration is just because of that wrong identification of his being independent to do whatever he wants. Now everybody has rights to think, I have the rights to do whatever I like. I have the right to enjoy as I like. I have the right to pollute the environment. I have a right to even destroy my own body if I want. Big rights now. Like I could kill the wound in my own body. I have rights. So this is what happens. This is the faultiness of this material world. So yeah, that's interesting. So if we don't engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, then we will actually become frustrated, as mentioned here. So that's really important. So here's a nice information about how we can see our position in the material world is always changing. It's temporary, but yet we think that it is permanent. And a really wonderful example of that is given in the example of a flame. And you see the fire, like if here, it's actually going. We see it looks like one flame, but actually every second, it's a different flame. You see it's created and destructed every second. So you can see how that is a wonderful example given in the 11th canto about fire, how it's constantly changing. So because of the misidentification of something we're not, it's such an illusory thing to be attached to something that's only there for a moment. And that's our bodies, these material resources, everything here. Another nice example is to see here as a river. Let's see, it looks like the same river there, but every moment it's being changed. It's a different water. It's constantly changing. So it looks the same, but it's always changing. It's like our body. The body always seems to be the same. You know, it's, unless you haven't seen a person for 10 years or so, you may not recognize them because of the time change. But things are happening so slowly and so exactly that sometimes we don't notice the change. So this is an amazing thing, that every day, people are dying. Every day we're changing. There's different kinds of deaths. This is the constant death. Like every day our cells die. And just like we see that there's an occasional destruction we see at the end of Brahma's day. There's a universal destruction when everything is, absorbed back into the pradhan. And so these are different types of death that we experience. But the real death that we want is the anjantika, is that when the false ego is cut off and our real knowledge comes forth and we realize Krishna. And in that way, that death, we go back home, back to Godhead. So that's very amazing how we can analyze things in that way. So here we see also how the power of the mind, it's so powerful that how we think, there's a description in the 11th canto that the mind is very powerful. It can activate the 3 modes of material nature. And the mind can actually morph you, according to the Bhagavad Gita, and give you a particular eye, ear, nose, sense of touch. So this is the power of the mind. It morphs us into different bodies to try to enjoy according to our different desires. Utilizing these material resources to enjoy them in a particular way. Like that. So this is showing the power of the mind. So we have to give up this morph position and actually morph into our spiritual body. And we can actually do that. The power of the mind, if we actually utilize it for Krishna consciousness. Because that's the highest, most important thing, is our consciousness. What we're thinking of, that is what shapes what our identity becomes. So we want to get free from that. Because after all, what is this? It's just a body of bones, isn't it? That's what it is. We see these bones. Prabhupada mentions this material life is just bones. We should take care of the bones as much as possible. But our real life is what is preaching, is book distribution, is Krishna consciousness, is spiritual life. Prabhupada, even at the time of death, he was, at the last moment, he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam. And there was a nice memories we were listening to during Prasadam one morning. Udayananda was talking about, Prabhupada said, even when his last days, he was saying, just take my bones to New York and I want to go out and preach with the New York devotees. And if I die, just, put me in a tomb on top of the temple. So this is what Prabhupada wanted. Here we are fancying around in these bones, identifying with these bones. Our life bearers in these bones. And we're thinking that, this is me. But it's actually nothing. It's just material energy. And it's funny how we're reading this in the 10th canto right now, where we're seeing right in the beginning of the introduction, it's like we're in the highest section of the Bhagavatam, but yet we see Vasudev's actually caught in this dilemma. And this shows the expertise of a devotee, in a very dangerous situation where we see his wife was very lovingly taken to her home by her brother Kamsa. But when he heard an unembodied voice in the sky saying, "You fool, the 8th son of your sister will kill you," then immediately he dropped the reins and he grabbed his sword and grabbed her hair and was going to cut her head off. And here Vasudeva has to pacify him. And what is he preaching? He's giving Bhagavad Gita, the same philosophy that Krishna was given to Arjuna. He's trying to pacify him in so many different ways. And Devamrita Swami gave a wonderful class this morning talking about all the different techniques that he used and how expert a devotee is, to pacify and to actually do his mission, is to make sure that Krishna comes into this world. First priority was to protect his wife, and whatever happens in the future, it could change. There's so many things that could happen. Maybe she won't have a child. Maybe Kamsa will be killed before she has a child, or maybe Krishna's child will kill him. So he had his first duty to do Krishna's mission. And this is what the expertise of a devotee. But you see the mentality of someone who identifies with his bones. Look how nicely decorated his bones are. Nice flesh, jewels. And he's got so many instruments. And he thinks that I am the, I am the controller of everything I survey. Just as bad as tiger or pet dog. Everywhere he goes, everything I see is mine. But this is just, an illusory conception of life, thinking that we are the controller of everything I survey. But actually, he's in complete illusion. And this is the demoniac mentality of a person to see. And this is very epitomized by Kamsa, just after he heard a voice saying that he's going to die. So compare this to a devotee who, like King Parikshit, he also heard that he was going to die in 7 days. And what did he do? He didn't become angry and try to kill the sage or kill the sage's son or try to counteract the curse. But yet he was completely fixed. He knew his position. He was a self-realized soul. He was a Rajarsi. And he understood his real position was not to live in this material world, but that he was a spirit soul. So he inquired on what he should do in order to attain that state. And this is when we are so fortunate that Sukadeva Goswami came and narrated the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. So this is the whole way that we become deathless, is by the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, and how we can actually get free from this material conception of life. This Śrīmad Bhagavatam is so wonderful that we can actually become deathless by this Śrīmad Bhagavatam. And this is, if we're actually engaged in the class of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, then no one will die during that time because Yamaraj is there. So this is our great fortune, is to be able to engage in this narration of the Śrīmad Bhagavatam. It's so wonderful. Just by hearing this, we are freed from this birth, death, old age, and disease. So this is very wonderful. We should take advantage of that. Because this death, for us, is like the cat grabbing the kitten by the neck. Even though there might be a little pain from the teeth, those are the difficulties that we may have in the mature world. But yet we are safe. We shouldn't worry. And we should continue with enthusiasm and not give up our service, even though there may be some difficulties. We are very well taken care of. Whereas for the materialists and the demons, that those teeth of the cat is his death. And this is the purpose of death, is to remind us that everything here is temporary, as we saw so many flickering things. It just, everything comes and goes. Some go in seconds, some go to take years, but some take centuries, but yet everything goes. But death reminds us that everything's temporary. And all these things that you acquire, that you think you're the master of everything you survey, and you try to exploit material resources, it's all temporary. It's not going to be there very long. And also this death is there for the atheists to prove that there is God. That's how they see God. The devotees, they see God everything. They see God in all the material energy, that this is Krishna's. This is Krishna's energy. Everything comes from Krishna. And this is why we're studying the universal form, is to see that actually all these material resources come from Krishna. So, and we can see that Brahmā even gets these resources from Krishna. So everything we see that we can see is from Krishna and Krishna's. So we try to utilize everything in Krishna's service. So even if you have a conception of the material Virat Rupa, but if you don't have this service attitude, then it's not any good. So we must have this service attitude that we are servants of Krishna. Even Lord Chaitanya said, I am a servant, I'm a servant, I'm a servant of Krishna. And he was, Krishna coming in the form of a servant to taste that nectar of what it's like. So we have that chance to hear the Śrīmad Bhagavatam There's that verse, those who drink through oral reception fully filled with the nectarian message of Lord Krishna, the beloved of the devotees, purify the polluted aim of life, known as material enjoyment, and thus go back home, back to Godhead, to the lotus feet of Him. And that's the personality of Godhead. So we see that these sufferings of human life, they're just due to that polluted aim. So Srila Prabhupada came, and he gave us that merciful glance. I gave a class Monday, it was Saturday, here at the temple, and I had this same picture of Srila Prabhupada. And after class, one lady, a guest came, kind of a mature lady, professional lady. She was listening to the class, and she said when she saw this picture, she felt that Srila Prabhupada was accepting her as, her disciple, and that she, she should take advantage. And she was like in tears. So I was like, wow, Srila Prabhupada, even from his picture, he's preaching and he's engaging people in Krishna service. This is a real devotee. You just see a devotee and you want to engage in Krishna service. And this is the glance of the pure devotee. Not only from his eyes, but from his picture, we can see that he has that effect. That yes, he wants us to engage in Krishna service. He wants us to engage and help him spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. And in that way, we actually perfect our life. We become free from this Maya Sukhaya, from this material energy. So Krishna consciousness is that vehicle. And Srila Prabhupada gave us a vehicle to get back home, back to Godhead. He's given us a house to live in so that we can live together with like-minded devotees and we can serve Krishna. Because with that Krishna factor, then everything is there. We see Kamsa didn't have the Krishna factor. So he was therefore, he ended up being killed by Krishna. But we see that Maharaj Parikshit, he had the Krishna factor, and when he passed away, he went back to home, back to Godhead. So it doesn't matter how sinful one may be, that one can take up Krishna consciousness, he can correct oneself. And once he does that, he's considered saintly. So we can have that enthusiasm. Doesn't matter what we've done. We can actually be enthusiastic, and we can follow those lives, those role models like Srila Prabhupada and his disciples that have shown us and how to give light to society and to help us go back home, back to God. So one who's engaged in the recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, just as the rising and the setting of the sun, one's life is decreased. But the life of one who is engaged in Krishna consciousness, engaged in narrating Srimad Bhagavatam and preaching, then one's life is not diminished. So this is the Ishvara Upanishad, which teaches us that everything is owned and controlled by the Lord. And we should actually only accept that quota, which is, our quota, and not accept anything more. So this is the complete picture. We're understanding things. Actually, it's described how we should learn nescience and knowledge side by side. And we're understanding the 5 things, the 5 illusory things that entraps us. And we're also understanding how to stave off this and get freedom from these illusions, utilizing our free will properly and engaging in devotional service. So this is, we can see through the Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand who our real friend is, and that's Krishna. Just like that story of King Puranjana, of how in his next life he became a woman, and he was lamenting so severely for her husband. And then Krishna appeared to him as a little Brahmin boy. He said, "Don't you remember me? I'm your friend. You should come. I've been trying to engage you in so many different ways." At any moment, he's always very alert, Krishna, to somehow or another involve us in Krishna consciousness. Just like that woman came to the temple, she saw a picture of Prabhupada. And just so happened, Prabhupada, that moment, she was eager to learn more. So it's very amazing how we could see we don't really belong in this world that we're describing here in this particular cantos, the universe and all the things the universe and material resources has to offer. We use them, as Prabhupada mentions, to become peaceful and become Krishna conscious. And in that way, we penetrate, out of this universal energy and enter into the spiritual world. So that's our goal. So we have the vehicle, we have the goal, and we have the process. We have the knowledge. So everyone can take advantage. It doesn't matter who you are. We can all take advantage and go back home, back to Godhead. So we can open up the discussion now. Anybody who has comments or realizations, we can entertain them now.
Everybody.
Okay,
the morphing section that you did, boy, was that powerful.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still stunned by it. What a powerful tool to show people how just going from body to body to body to body to the next body to the next body. I don't know, somehow I'd love to have something like that when I'm speaking about how we're taking so many different forms. It's just incredibly powerful.
Sure, I guess it's like a little morph thing.
Even another nice morph would be morphing from babyhood to getting older and older and older and older and older, and then going downhill and then gradually dying and then morphing into the womb. And that's powerful stuff.
Yes.
And a little confession, when you were talking about the woman seeing the picture of Prabhupada and feeling that Prabhupada was beckoning her to surrender, my first knee-jerk reaction, this is confession now, my knee-jerk reaction was, boy, that sounds sentimental and probably a little bogus. But I started thinking about it a little further, and as I was looking at that picture, thinking, well, wait a minute now, Prabhupada certainly can manifest himself in that picture, and I believe he does. And, that could be very real. Mm-hmm. The more I thought about it, the more it seemed very plausible, as long as it's consistent with Shastra, Sadhu, and Guru. And who knows what technique Krishna may take to draw us into spiritual life. So anyway, after I thought about it for a while, I accepted it and thought, yeah, sounds very, very possible, very real. I certainly feel Prabhupada's presence in his photograph.
Yeah, I had the same reaction that you did. I just kind of just dismissed it after she said it. I thought, it's kind of sentimental maybe or something. But then I began to think about it like you again. I said, yeah, she's not like a crazy woman. She's like a professional woman. She comes. And then I began to think about it more and more. And I said, yeah, actually, Prabhupada can do that. And she came yesterday. I saw her at the Sunday feast. So, yeah.
I mean, a picture can be a deity.
Oh, yeah.
What are the different ways a deity can appear in the mind? And
there's you mentioned about a morph from birth to death. Yeah. There was one I used one time. I don't know if you remember, but it was actually an ad, and it was actually like a commercial, and it showed a woman inside the hospital giving birth, and it shows the baby actually pops out. It's like realistic, very realistic, and he flies out of the window like naked, baby's flying, goes in the sky, and as he's flying through the sky, he gets older and older and older. And then he starts coming down, he's like an old man. And then he crashes into the grave.
This is real Yukta Vairagya.
And then the whole,
in this way to spread Krishna consciousness, to enlighten others and become enlightened ourselves. This is what Rupa Goswami speaks of, Yukta Vairagya. Just like right now we're using this crazy internet, which can be so destructive in many ways and so decadent, but yet we're using it in Krishna service for Harikatha and coming together and hearing the Bhagavatam and associating. Boy, it's taken us right out of this material world. It's wonderful that we're all able to sit right in our own homes and have one another's association. It's fantastic. Great class, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. And the whole purpose of that ad with the child going to the grave was that life is short, so enjoy now. It's for gamers. So see, they use it in a whole different sense. So it's such illusion.
Nice.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Inari. Thank you very much.
You know, I saw that once. Somebody showed it. Maybe it was you. Well, I'd like to see that again. Where can you find it? I thought Devotee had done it, but that you said it's some gamer did it?
Yeah, it was for
banned Xbox commercial.
Where can you find that? It's pretty powerful. That's why I thought a devotee might have done it.
Yeah, I have that.
Can you show it?
Can you send me a link? It's a real shocker.
Can you show it now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can.
On one of my presentations, I think I had it on there. I don't know which one it was.
I might have shown it.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a banned Xbox commercial.
What is it?
It's a banned Xbox. You know Xbox?
Oh yeah,
it's
for games.
Yeah. So it's a banned Xbox commercial that ends with "Life is short, play hard."
Oh,
you know, but
how useless. Can you imagine? It's the last thing you should be concluding after seeing
Completely.
Right.
Life's short, so why not just waste it as fast as you can?
I could probably find it on the internet. Trying to go through my files. Let's see, I probably don't want to get yours. What's it called? Life is short?
Yeah, Life is short. It might be under Life is short. It's on YouTube. Banned Xbox commercial. You can find it that way.
Go to YouTube. Life is short. Yeah, I actually thought of that, but I didn't have time to get that together.
You know what I thought was interesting about this, especially the second verse, was that it's counterintuitive, I think, in our culture, that Lord Brahmā, he creates, all the mental constructs, the misconceptions, the emotions that we have first before he creates the material bodies. And we've been trained since our birth, the whole thing with the Big Bang, evolution like that, that we create social intercourse and morality and like that, and ultimately we even create religion and our conception of a god because we need it. So it's the exact opposite. It's because we need we want to be an illusion, so Brahmā creates all of these false conceptions, mental constructs before he even creates the material bodies. It's like I said, counterintuitive for a Westerner.
Yeah, I found it. Can you guys see it?
Oh wait, let me go back. Okay, yeah, we can see it.
Okay, here goes.
Go ahead.
Full screen.
You should do it not full screen. It's
very quality. Why was it banned? I don't know. Play more. Xbox. Okay, that was it.
Oh,
yeah.
Why so serious?
That's something.
Okay,
so Goda.
Yes.
Let's see here. What was that morphing program you used?
Oh, this was done from the BBT. They made this on the, I don't know if you ever saw the Bhagavad Gita Interactive, but that's from there.
Oh, so
They
you just.
I just got it, copied it. But
what is this Bhagavad Gita Interactive? I never heard it. What are you talking about?
It was done about 5 years ago, maybe more. It was done on the old PCs and Mac. You can't even play it on the new machines now unless you do something special.
I have it. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
And then it's in there. It's a whole thing. And so I just grabbed that from there.
I see.
But I think the North American BBT did it, and I think they won an award from Apple for doing that or something. One of those things.
Yeah, there's not too many more programs anymore. There used to be, but now for some reason, you know, you can only do it online or something. There used to be actually more programs. One of the really good ones, Michael Jackson, one of his videos, black and white, and it was just mind-blowing smooth. You know, it was just seamless and just really, really impressive. But now they don't have these. I want to do a couple of things like that, and I'm frustrated on account of that.
I didn't know there was those around. But yeah, where is that Michael Jackson morph? I like to see that.
It was the song "Black and White," or maybe "Ivory." What is it? Anyway, "Black and White."
That was one of his
I think
albums.
Yeah. It might be on the internet. I haven't tried to look for it.
Okay, check it out.
But let's see. You know, the idea of Brahmā creating this nescience, these 5 types of nescience, it's very parallel to the creation that we've also recently read, where the first thing is ahankara. It's the first,
Right.
you know, and then things manifest from there. The mahatattva.
It's true.
And I was reminded, looking at this purport, that you know, just the very structure of the, you know, what Brahma's doing is he's creating the conditions under which a living being in the material world has to live. And when Jai and Vijay got cursed by the Kumaras, they knew they were in trouble. You know, they knew they had made a mistake, and these stages had the power to curse them to, you know, to fall into the, you know, material sphere. And immediately they put their palms together and they begged the Kumaras, please, we'll accept this, but you please give us the benediction that we will never forget the Lord, because that's the first thing that happens is you know, forgetfulness. So, and then I was thinking, and then Vishnu comes, and then they get the choice of 7 pious births or 3 demonic. They took the short route back to Vaikuntha because they know it's, you know, good and bad here. It's all concoction anyway. They just wanted to fast track back to Vaikuntha. And and the incarnations that they took, Hiranyakashipu and Shishupal and Kamsa, and, you know, they were all they were obsessed with Krishna. They couldn't forget him.
Yeah, negative. Yeah, it's true.
I was thinking as Vidura was reminding us of the choice of the births, I was just kind of thinking, well, what would I rather have? I mean, if I got stuck in that position, the fast track where you're these horrible demons, or what if you could take like 7 births of someone like Narada Muni or some great sage and actually enlighten people and do wonderful service? I don't know. I might opt for the longer one.
Yeah.
That's not getting an awful lot of thought, but I was just thinking it might be kind of nice. 7 really good births that you're actually
go on a preaching tour.
Yeah.
Well, Krishna probably wants them because he wanted a good fight, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe they knew their thinking was influenced by the fact that Krishna wanted a good fight. Excellent point.
Yeah.
Excellent point. But my point still stands that, barring Krishna influencing my mind, I think I would probably opt for the 7. You could be like, Maitreya, Narada, a great saintly person to go on a preaching tour. I think I might go for the long one.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Jai, that's your mercy, Prabhu.
Anyway, just interesting thoughts I'm sharing. That's all.
Jai, thank you. That's great. Oh, any more realizations?
There's a puzzling part of this purport. All material resources are offered to the living entity for his peaceful living and for the discharge of the duties. Okay, I see. Early on in the slideshow, you were showing everything has been provided. It's true. It's all mismanagement. It's mismanaged. That's why there's starvation and wars and all this stuff, because people are self-interested.
Yeah.
The arrangement, when they talk about overpopulation, but it's just they're feeding all this grain to animals, and they're eating the animals. It's all mismanagement.
Yeah. Just their greed.
Right.
Envy. Demoniac mentality.
But there is no peaceful living these days. It's pretty disturbed unless you're really transcendental, and then even then, a Vaishnava, he feels compassion, he feels pain to see so much suffering. In India, that's a dilemma. You see so many people, begging, especially if they come to the cities and they don't have a place. You see so much suffering, and it's almost like you have to, what do you do, with, you just have to almost disconnect, otherwise your heart will just break.
Yeah. Yeah, we're kind of like a fish out of water. And, but some other, engaging in Krishna consciousness, you have that protection. You get that special like bubble that you're in, protected of the devotees and the Guru, Krishna, Shastra.
That's the quality of the great devotee. It's that he doesn't, as we'd like to sing, you almost have to disconnect. But the great devotee, you can't disconnect. There's too much compassion in their heart to allow that. Which is why Prabhupada came. He's the greatest, most compassionate personality, came under the deplorable conditions of America, practically penniless with nothing, but he came, he saw, and he didn't leave. He stayed until his mission was well established.
Yeah, he came to show us how to live, and he came to show us how to die also.
How to live and how to die. To his last breath, he was translating and enlightening others.
Yeah, that's what he told Dayananda. To my last breath, I want to die preaching. Just take my bones to New York, and I want to preach with the New York devotees. So fixed.
Also, it's in the last part of the purport. It's simply ludicrous to think a living entity to be equal to the Supreme Lord.
Yeah.
When one can, and the conditioned souls are under the influence of Brahma's magic wand. Mostly we're thinking Maya, she's got a throwing potency, a covering potency, but actually Brahma, it's already designed by Brahma, the nescient, the 5 types of nescience.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. It's interesting how he mentions Patanjali in the end of the purport. There's also 5 kinds, because I guess it's yoga, and that's yoga is, so we want to get out of this nescience. We're supposed to relink back with Krishna.
Right. Right.
All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, it's already after 10, huh? We have to
Nope.
get to the office.
7. Just kidding.
There's no more discussion.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Prabhu.
you.
Thank you, Goda. Thank you, everyone. Great to be back in everyone's association.
Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhupada.
Hari Hari Bol.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.